Podcast and chill with MacG. Podcast and chill with MacG. Okay, this is now the fourth, I think the fifth or sixth time I'm starting this episode because I want to talk about this whole MacG controversy, but I keep on forgetting the name of his show. Podcast and chill with MacG. I think most people just call it the MacG show, possibly. Podcast and chill with MacG. Maybe I'm getting old. I went to ChatGPT to look for the name, because if you go to his YouTube video, you don't see it straight away. Anyway, so in case you're not aware of the controversy, I'll just very briefly look. First of all, I actually watched the episode. You actually have to watch it to have an opinion, because on the surface, I heard misogynistic, offensive, gender-based, not violence, but abusive language, offensive language. The portfolio committee, the government parliamentary portfolio committee, have called MacG in to give a presentation or to answer questions about this offensive language they used on his show, Podcast and Chill with MacG. Okay, so in case you don't know about it, they're talking about Minnie Dlamini. Minnie Dlamini, well-known, what do you want to call her? An influencer, a celebrity. So she's had like lots of relationships in the past, but most people have had lots of relationships in the past. You know, what, are you going to meet somebody when you're 14 and then marry them? So look, she's in the spotlight. She is a public figure. And they're just joking around. Now, it's all about tone, delivery, intention. What was the intention? That's what it's all about. So the intention is that MacG has got a show and he wants to be funny and he's trying to be entertaining. He's trying to entertain his audience. So the question was, why can't she hold on to a man? Why can't she stay in a relationship? What goes on? Because she recently, Minnie Dlamini recently broke up with her boyfriend. Maybe it's boyfriend number 5, number 6, I don't know. And so MacG, it was a very throwaway comment, very brief. What's going on? What has she got? Has she got a smelly or a stinky? Smelly or stinky? Has she got a smelly cooch? Yeah, it's been, I watched the video nearly 24 hours ago. I don't know whether they used the word smelly or stinky. What's going on? Has she got a smelly cooch? And then there was like no reaction from the rest of the team, and they moved on. So it was off the cuff. It was very brief. It came and it went. And that's it. So on the surface, in theory, what he said, yes, it is misogynistic. It's disrespectful, sexist, offensive. Yes, it is all of that. But on a scale of 1 to 10, what level of offensiveness was it really? I don't think it was a 10 out of 10. The way people are reacting, they are the media, maybe government. I don't know if it's dear government. They responding like it's a 10 out of 10. This was a really big deal, and it really wasn't, because he was just trying to be funny. Yes, bad taste. Yes, it was offensive, but then we move on. Look, it's also MacG and his team's fault. They should mitigate. It's called mitigation. If someone on a radio show or a podcast says something offensive, and this is also a BCCSA kind of principle. So this, what I'm saying here, has legal precedent. If the rest of the team went and said, Mac, you can't say that. That's offensive. You can't talk about Minnie Dlamini like that. That could be a mitigating factor, but nobody did that. So that's their bad. But I think this warrants people complaining. And you move on. But MacG has been called before the parliamentary portfolio committee, I assume on communication, to discuss this. So a 2-second comment, maybe her cooch smells, that's warranted him to appear before the portfolio committee on communications. Um, it has been blown out of proportion, but now I want to look at it from another point of view as well. And I have already alluded to it. And if you haven't ever, I don't know, been on radio or done a broadcasting show or been on live TV or live radio, maybe you wouldn't understand that. Understand this. You're trying to be entertaining. There's no rehearsal. This is live. It's off the cuff. It's ad lib. MacG is trying to be entertaining. That's his job. He's under pressure to entertain. So he's human. You're going to make a mistake. He said that in an effort just to be humorous. And now onto something else. And people, this is very, very taboo. And people don't want to talk about it, but this is life. At the end of the day, we are animals. We are animals. And body odor is an issue. And in coital activities in life, it happens where you've neglected yourself, and you may have a stinky cooch. The problem is in the case of this MacG show, what's it called? Podcast and Chill with MacG. They mentioned a person's name, and they associated that person's name with this problem or this condition. That's where the problem lies. I see no problem with discussing the concept or talking about the concept, just not labeling somebody regarding this concept. Now, who hasn't had a stinky bum in their lives? Lots of men who with foreskins have neglected that area and haven't washed themselves properly, and you have a stinky situation. And you've made the coital experience unpleasant, and possibly the man or the woman has got up and run out the room, or the change room in Edgar's, or you know what I mean. So it is an issue. Listen, look, I was going to go into that more, but I'll get back to that in a second. Another major issue here as well is the numbers and the implications of the fact that MacG has a huge podcast. He's got 1.57 million subscribers. And that particular episode, I watched it yesterday, 567 actual views. Now, if I said something offensive like stinky cooch, nobody would care. People move on. Nobody cares. It's because he has those numbers that people, in other words, he gets noticed. He gets noticed. Most podcasts in the world, there are about six, this is just a rough estimate. There are like 6 million podcasts in the world. Only 1% have any decent listenership or viewership. There's just too many podcasts. You could have the most brilliant, amazing podcasts in the world, but you've got 10 listeners because there's just so many. How do people find your podcast? Anyway, they found MacG. Bless him. MacG is he's a black man, South African, in his early to mid, maybe late 30s. He speaks to that demographic. Him and his team, they reach a huge potential audience because that's them. They are untold. There's what? Let's do it roughly. There must be roughly 25 to maybe 30 or 28 million South Africans between the age of 16 and 40, 60 and 35. Huge potential audience. So, yes, so that's an important factor. He gets noticed if he does something wrong. His show was 1 hour and 46 minutes long. They're talking continuously for 1 hour and 46 minutes. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to say something that's not right. And that's what he did. He mentioned maybe she's got a stinky cooch. And then it was a throwaway line. Yes, it's misogynistic. Yes, it's offensive. But he was just trying to be funny. And yes, it's unacceptable, but let's move on. It happened. If I was Minnie Dlamini or her advisors, I would demand or ask, and if I was MacG, I would do this. Have Minnie Dlamini as your guest. She must go on MacG's show. I would recommend this. And talk about it. Have it out. If MacG has to wash her feet and do a whole cleansing ceremony and an apology, so be it. And talk about this is a serious issue. This is a topic, not the gender-based offensive language. Yeah, that is an issue, but body odor. That's a thing to talk about. Just don't accuse me of having a stinky bum. Okay, I admit it. Growing up, only until I was married, I'm embarrassed to say, but this is the truth. Only until I was married did I know that you must actually thoroughly clean there. I wasn't aware. I thought you just take the toilet paper and you give a wipe and then you move on. Somebody had to tell me, hey, no ways, bro. So yes, you got to scrub it. There are lots of people with stinky bums and bad foreskins. And yes, you will get, occasionally there will be an odor, a foul smelling vagina. It does happen. It's happened to probably everybody at one time in their lives. So it is a factor. And then moving on to the ugly, and then now let's look at another point of view on this issue. The numbers. So let's look at MacG. He wasn't a hugely successful radio guy. I think he was at 94.7. That's a radio station in Johannesburg. He wasn't successful. I don't think he made it big. And then look what's happened. He started this podcast, I think in 2017 or 2018. Look at him. He was an unknown person. That's an amazing story. Look at it in this context. Gareth Cliff, one of the most hugely talented, successful radio people in South Africa. If you look at his YouTube, he's got 56,000 subscribers, which is very impressive. I think it's excellent. But it's not 1.57 million subscribers. So just look at that. So where am I going with this? I think in this case, government is unhappy. Radio people are unhappy. Other broadcasters are unhappy and jealous of MacG. And they will try and find fault. And it's easy to find fault with anybody. And they exploit it because I'm on radio and I can't use that language. I can't do this. I don't have 1.57 million subscribers. And they're jealous. And the government, people in government are unhappy because they want to control. Governments want to control. They can't control MacG because he's on the internet. He's got a podcast. So they're frustrated. They're upset. And yes, there are controls. If you see a video on YouTube and you find it, you report it to YouTube. I don't know if YouTube use algorithms or computers. They'll look at MacG's video. It's 1 hour and 46 minutes long. They'll find this one throwaway little thing that lasted 3.5 seconds. And maybe they'll give MacG, maybe they'll give him a warning. Honestly, I don't know how it really works. But they're not going to take him off the platform. Because that's an overreaction. It doesn't warrant that. In my opinion. Going back to the whole sense of control, let me give an example. When I was at 5FM, Gareth Cliff had a successful show. It was a successful show. We had an advertiser, Mango Airlines, which subsequently Avasholem Mango Airlines no longer with us. There was a live read, an advert for Mango Airlines. And Gareth went into this very funny thing. He went off script and talked about, and he put on like either a Jamaican or a person from the DRC. Oh, somebody from the Bahamas, Caribbean. He put on a Caribbean accent maybe, talk about we love the mango. The mango we really talk, and it was really funny. Did anybody complain that he was being racist and xenophobic? No, nobody complained. Gareth spoke about the baboons in Cape Town because at one time there were baboon issues. So Gareth painted this whole picture of the baboons getting together, and he would put on this Pommy accent, and the baboons were British. Hey, let's go. I can't do it. Anyway, they talk about how they're in the mountains and they're going to break into people's houses. And, what are you going to... Did the British consulate come and complain? No. Because of the numbers. But going back to the mango, it's about... Was it the government, South African government didn't notice. And here's proof of my theory. There is proof of my theory. So 5FM traditionally was hovering on barely 1 million listeners. Then Gareth's breakfast show was very, very, very successful. 5FM doubled their listenership. Their listenership was 2.1 million or 2.2, maybe, well, at the very least 2 million. So you would think the SABC at the time, it's a government organization, you would think they would be thrilled and happy. Well done, that's successful. No. This is a true story. Because I have to say that because it makes no sense, but it's a true story. SABC was not happy because they thought, oh my God, this is a perceived white radio station, which, by the way, was completely incorrect. 5FM was the most cosmopolitan crossover radio station at the time, blacks, whites, whatever. But their perception was that it was a white radio station. So they were worried, oh my God, 2 million white people have some kind of platform and, oh my God, we can't control it. They wanted the 5FM management to explain and write a report. What is going on? Why have you got 2 million listeners? But to apologize for having 2 million listeners. True story. Insane. So that's my take on it. You've got to look at the bigger picture. And I think I've made sense. Well, of course I would say that. So the South African Podcasters Guild, I'm not really 100% familiar with them. They're getting together, they're having a meeting, Google Meets, to discuss self-regulation, drawing up some kind of a thing. I don't think that can be done, I don't know. But yes, this is, the people are worried. So, what actions can be taken? Yes, there's the government, there's the South African Constitution. If MacG gets hauled before the Gender Commission or the Human Rights Commission, when they actually listen to the recording of this 3-second throwaway line, what are they going to come up with? Yes, you're guilty. Yes, you're guilty of misogyny. Yes, you're guilty of offensive language. But what about the tone? What about the context? What the intention? It was 3 seconds. You moved on. Please, let's think about this logically. Let's be reasonable.